Hey, Sean. Welcome to an evening post. Happy Saturday. Thanks for clicking on this and watching it. Tonight I wanted to talk for just a minute about selfies. And when selfies first became a thing, I hated them. And I was like actively against them. And I thought they were egotistical. And like you see somebody on vacation posting on Instagram and it's like, okay, show us the beautiful architecture. Don't show us the beautiful architecture with your face in it. And you can really only make one of three faces. You can try to act cool like you don't notice. You can be goofy and make a big funny face, or you can just smile authentically. And all of them can seem weird from time to time, like as you're doing it. But as I've grown older and wiser and taken a lot of photos over the past 10 or 12 years especially, I've fallen in love with the selfie. And it doesn't mean I've fallen in love with myself. And it can be tough to take a selfie because if you're anything like me, you may not have full confidence in your physical appearance. Your physical appearance may have changed slightly for better or for worse over the past years. And it's important still to take those photos with yourself in them because one day, looking back, you don't just want to look at a photo of something. Or like if your grandparents go on vacation somewhere and they show you pictures, you don't want to see pictures of like, oh, and this is the beach. We know what a beach looks like. We want to see you there. We want to see what you look like, the expression you chose. And so I wanted to quickly walk through my 3 favorite selfies and give you one tip for your own selfies, and that's all we're talking about tonight. My first favorite selfie is this photo I took after I had gotten a new light. I put it down in my bag and shined it up at me. This is my camera bag. And this is the first photo I had taken like to be sort of like a clickbait YouTube thumbnail where I wanted it to seem like, Marcellus Wallace's briefcase of like, what's in this thing shining up at me. But it took some time to set up, to do the self timer, to get the focus right and all that. I didn't have a remote or anything. And so to press it, to run around, to lift the flap, to get it ready was exciting. And it turned into a kind of a fun photo. And I look back on this and I'm like, yeah, it's goofy. It's dumb. It's not cool, but it is, and I'm glad I have it. Second photo, I took this one in Vegas when I went in 2018 for the NAB show, and it's like a 2 or 3 second exposure, and I had to put an ND filter on the lens so that I could have that long exposure and still have the blurry background, but I had to hold completely still in front of the camera, and this was a challenge for me because I'm still not comfortable like vlogging out in public. I'm very self-conscious of talking to a camera when anyone else is around. And so taking a photo, putting my camera on a tripod in front of the Venetian and taking this photo was uncomfortable, especially to stand there perfectly still holding this expression as people walk by and look at me. It was tough, but I'm really glad I took it. And then I punched the color up way too much, which I love doing. And I like this photo. It's a cool little moment in time. And finally, this is, it starts to blur the line of what is a selfie. I took this photo myself. No one else took it. I put the camera on a tripod. I had to take 2 photos, one where I'm balancing on a stool and one where I erased the stool, or where it was without anything in it so that I could erase the stool and you would see what was behind it. And it was neat. It was an exercise in something I hadn't done before. I was just sort of playing with Photoshop, with Pixelmator and photo manipulation. And I learned so much doing this. And looking back, it's a fun photo that people still ask me about how I did. And when I talk to grade schoolers, as I do occasionally, as I talk to grade school classes, as I get asked to do occasionally, they always ask, like, hey, how'd you do that picture? And it's always fun to explain, like, hey, all this is a photo, but it's cool, and you could do it too. Here's how I did it. So take photos, take selfies, because it's a cool way of freezing in time who you are, where you were, what you were thinking, what you were like. And I would encourage you to try to make it complicated. Don't just take a selfie holding it. Get a tripod, set it up, do a self-timer, put some work into making it more than just you holding your phone up and taking a photo of yourself, because when you do that, you can end up with some pretty cool photos that you're going to remember, and your friends and your family are going to love them. Even if they don't think it's cool the day you take it, looking back even a month and especially a year and years later, it's going to be fun to look at these photos, I promise you. That's all I got. Thanks for joining me for a couple minutes. Mask on, chin up. See you tomorrow.